To start off, I obviously want to talk about Heights.
Yeah.
I saw the show last Saturday in the matinee, and it was
Okay.
so good. You guys were so amazing. What's it like to be back in the show almost 10 years later for you?
Yeah. My gosh. Well, it's funny because there's so many of us that have done it together.
Right.
So it doesn't feel like it's been 10 years. You know what I mean? Like it's like we get together, we're like, oh yeah, sure. Like a few years has passed, no big deal. So it feels like so cliche, but it feels very much like home. It's like, oh well, these are my friends that I know, and it's great. But also for me, it's, as the original dance captain and, swinging, and I covered Carla, but like, I was very much like, this is like a very different way to be experiencing the show. So it's also been like, a little scary, but also really exciting and wonderful to get to see a whole other side of it, I love it here. I was here once like 11 years ago, and I had a great time then. I was so excited about coming back. I mean, both because PCLO has always been, a dream of mine. I love the theater.
Right.
But also the city. It's just great. We're having a blast. Today I'm stuck in my apartment doing so much work, but the rest of the days have been great.
Yeah.
By the 8th day, that was our show. So I would call it 7.
Okay.
I would say it was 7 days.
What was that process like?
People are like, oh, well, you practiced for 7 days, but you came from somewhere else. And I'm like, no, we all came from our respective other shows that we were doing or whatever. It was fast and furious, but, Michael Balderrama, he's my resident in Chicago. So he works for me on Hamilton, and we know each other well, and we were the original dance captains at Heights. He did such a phenomenal job of really helping the ensemble, like putting them through the paces and making sure that they really understood the material. To me, that was the hardest, right? Because, I've never played Vanessa, but I know the part. I've taught it 1,000 times. Most of the principals have played the roles. And then the other thing was, like, Josh Grosso coming in with so much, having done all the work already. He didn't have to learn a line or a lyric. Like, he knew it from the first day of rehearsal, which is, like, blows my mind,
What's it like working with him?
Oh, I adore him. He's so good. Like, I look at him sometimes on stage and I'm like, you can't be that young, because his like depth of character that he finds, like his silly and his charming and his nerdy, it's all so good. Like, I don't have to do any work on stage, We can't believe it. We have like our heels in the sand and we're like pushing Sunday away like the plague. But also, walking through it and just like enjoying, like, I can't believe we get to do it again today. I can't believe we get to do it again tomorrow. So, it's bittersweet. Very, very bittersweet.
What would you say was the most challenging number to choreograph? Would it be the club?
What's funny? I don't know if I would say, it's been so many years since I've set the show. I actually set the show a few years ago in Miami, and I felt the club and Blackout were really difficult, but, like, Carnival is a little, like, it catches you by storm, but I would say, like, in the Heights opening number, because there were so many different, everyone's doing different things, like, there's so much traffic, at least, like, in, other numbers, it's like, you just teach the choreography, and then, like, you face this way,
Right. Do you have a favorite song?
Well, I love When You're Home.
Me
I could watch Marcus and Jenny sing When You're Home forever.
I think that's always been my favorite. I love Vanessa, but that's always been my favorite too.
It's
just got that
even back
good
in the
beat.
day, I would just watch Mandy and Chris Jackson. Whenever I could go out into the house and just watch them do it, it never got old. I love that song.
I do want to talk to you about Hamilton.
Okay.
You are the international dance supervisor. Tell me, what exactly does that all entail?
So I was first and foremost the associate choreographer. Andy and I made the show together. And we started working on Hamilton, musically, and and conceptually with Lynn back when we were doing Bring It On. Like, we would have dinners and talk about it when we were doing Bring It On together, all of us. And then, you know, when Hamilton came about, it was, you know, Andy was like, well, do you want to choreograph it or do you want to be in it? Like, what do you want to do? Because that was very much at the time where I had said to him, like, I want to take a break from choreographing. I want to perform more. And when I realized what Hamilton was going to be, because I feel like I knew from the moment that we heard the first 3 songs, I was like, I can't give an opportunity up to choreograph this. Like, this is going to be a big deal. So I decided to be a swing so that I wasn't on stage all the time, so I could help him choreograph and be a part of it, but I would get to perform every once in a while. So, you know, I started off as associate choreographer and an original swing in the show. So I got to do all the fun things like the cast album and perform on the Tony Awards and, you know, do all of those great things you get to do as a cast member. And then once the show started to grow, so we built our Chicago company, that's when my real other job started, which is like the international, what we came up with, the international dance supervisor. So I basically like flew around the country, hired that next company, and then I go into the studio and I teach them the show. And then that happens every other time. I did that with the San Fran company. We're going out to London to do that. So, you know, the way Andy and I work is like very specific now. We've been doing it for 10 years. So, like, basically I cast the shows, he gives the okay, and then like I kind of teach the specifics of the step and he comes through and gives it his beautiful, brilliant, genius finesse. And yeah, so and then continuing forward, I have what we call a resident choreographer in every city. Mm-hmm. So we hire someone who then maintains the show in that city. So that's Michael Balderrama in Chicago. There's a girl named Jen Jankishay in New York. There's a gentleman, Derek Mitchell, in California. And obviously we have one for London, one for the next tour. And so I manage them. Okay. So I'm kind of like the manager of the managers. So
the boss.
Yes, I'm the boss.
So have you been over to London yet to help with that cast?
Yeah, I've been to London 4 times, actually. We finished casting the show back in January. And, you know, since then we're very active on the email, you know, making sure that people's features and they have the right costumes. And you said so-and-so sings this part, but are they going to, you know, so it's a lot of, you know, administrative stuff. But yeah, the London group is great. We have our dance captains hired. We have our resident hired. So Andy and I are both really excited to go out there in September.
What's it been like to work with Andy? I know you worked with him on Hamilton, Bring It On, In the Heights. What's he like?
He's a genius. Like everybody says, that's the truth. He is the most passionate and most hardworking human being I have ever met in my life. And that's saying a lot because I work with a lot of really incredible people. And he just is the type of person that, like, the more you're with him, you're like, oh, well, if he's doing that, then I've got to stop. You know, he constantly demands you to be at your best. And I love working like that. And so I love working with him. And, you know, sometimes people will say, oh, well, you know, he can be, you know, very demanding. Or I think that the reason that Hamilton and Heights and even Bandstand, which I saw on Broadway, I don't know if you've seen, is so beautiful.
I did. I saw that last month. It was so good.
Oh, awesome. The choreography is amazing. And Laura Osnes, and like, they're just all beautiful. And that's, like, they did that because he demanded greatness from them. And so I look up to him so much as a artist, but, you know, also as a friend who's super sensitive, and he takes his friendships very seriously. He doesn't have a lot of close friendships, and he keeps his, you know, his family in the forefront always, which, you know, is something that I admire very much with him as, you know, not just an artist, as a person. So. Oh, he's the best. I mean, he's as genius as he is silly, which I don't understand how those two things can exist, because he both works hard, and then sometimes you're like, how did you write a movie? I just saw you playing video games for, you know, like, he's such a enigma. I don't even know. But the sweetest, nicest friend, loyal to every guy, they're all men, so they're all my boys, I call them. Alex and Tommy and Andy and Lynn, and even extending it to Bill Sherman, who was one of our co-orchestrators on Heights. They're all so loyal, and everyone supports each other. And so he's the same. Lynn's just, a great dude. As great and funny as he is on Twitter, that's how he is in real life.
I'm sure. And I do want to ask you about If Then quickly too.
Yeah.
I saw you in that several years ago. What was that experience like in working with Adina?
It was great. It's funny. So I go for runs around Pittsburgh.
Are you a runner?
I did add running to my, as I started to get older and I realized that I wasn't going to be able to dance 10 hours a day like I did in college and back in the Heights, that in order to keep my weight down, I would have to do a lot of cardio. Mm-hmm. I started running, and anyway, so I run around Pittsburgh all the time, and I would run past this poster of Adina over here right on 5th. Uh-huh. And I just I was like, oh, Adina, and I keep running. And then on July 11th, I'm running, and I see the date, and it says July 11th. So I text her. I'm like, are you in Pittsburgh right now? She's like, I'm in Pittsburgh. Are you in Pittsburgh? I was like, yes. Oh, my God. And so she had sound check, and I had dinner plans with someone else, and she was going to Cleveland the next morning. So we were like ships in the night. But she was just such a supportive, that was back really when I was, I've always kind of wanted to step out of like the dancer thing and be a singer and actor in my own right. And she was one of those people who really was so encouraging. And so when I was like, I'm playing Vanessa in the Heights tonight, and she's like, I wish I could come. And just so supportive. And same thing with, everybody in that company was so supportive. Anthony also is a special human being. When I was in London, he was out there, and he came out to, say hello, and I went to his concert, and he's always just been really wonderful and a great human. And of course, LaShans and Jen Colella and Joanne Reed and Cassidy and every person in that show, we had too much fun. It should have been illegal that we were getting paid to do that. It was too much fun, and I miss it every day, truly.
And that's the great thing I love about the theater community. It's like everybody's connected somehow. It's one big family.
Yes, it's so true. It's a big family and also a small family. Sometimes you're like, oh my God, it's such a small world,
What first inspired you? Was it? I assume you were interested in dancing first, and then did theater come along with that?
So theater, yes, because I was always interested in Broadway dancing specifically.
Because I read where you majored in dance, but also microbiology, correct?
Yes. My other major was genetics and microbiome research. And I love science. I still love science. My parents are doctors, and they felt that it was important that I got a quote-unquote real degree. And I obliged because I didn't mind, because I really liked it. Mm-hmm. But I always knew in my heart that I was going to move to New York and pursue Broadway. So, I started off as a dancer, and even though I always wanted to be on Broadway, and when I was a teenager, I went to this performing arts summer camp called Bucks Rock, and one of the directors there, I was auditioning, and he said, you have a lovely voice, you should really focus on that. And so, I didn't really listen for a year, and then in a year and a half, I was like, I'm going to take some voice lessons. So I took 2 years of voice lessons in high school, then I went to college, and as you know, I did a lot of majors. None of them included singing. And then when I got to New York, I was like, oh, now I want to audition for Broadway. And I don't know the first thing about auditioning vocally. Mm-hmm. And so began my really crazy learning process of the casting director. So the casting director, her name is Stephanie Klemons. She works for Telsey, which is a big casting agency in New York. They cast all the Broadway shows. And I was auditioning for Rent, and she said, sometimes you come in here and you nail it, and sometimes you come in here and you're not confident, so I want to send you, and she sent me to this great vocal coach, and I thank her for that, because this vocal coach really helps me a lot. This woman named Tina Marie Casamento and her husband, David Libby, who are now writing a Broadway show called Chasing Rainbows, which is on its way to Broadway, which is so cool.
That's exciting.
Yeah, it is. So Bethany really was the one that was like, I believe in you. I think you can do this, but you need work. And so that's when I really started working on my voice. And then 10 months later, I booked the first national tour of Bombay Dreams, so I got my equity card. And then I was on that tour when I booked Heights, and it all kind of spiraled from there. We were actually, the first time I was offered a principal anything, it was this one girl, Asmaret Geber-McHale, who's actually starring in Dreamgirls in London right now. She was in the original off-Broadway company of In the Heights, and she was the understudy for Vanessa, Carla, and Nina. She left the show 3 weeks early to play Pilar in the original company of Legally Blonde. And they needed someone to pick up her coverage for the last 3 weeks of off-Broadway run. And I was like, that terrifies me. Like, I had never sung alone on stage with people. And anyway, I ended up picking that up, and that's where it all began. So,
before I let you go, I really want to talk about Katie's art project and the art project event you have coming up. Can you tell me first a little bit just about what Katie's art project involves and what it does for kids who are facing terminal cancer?
Totally. So Katie's Art Project actually was an organization I started 6 years ago in the top floor of the Richard Rogers Theater while I was a swing. And my best friend Katie passed away in high school from leukemia when we were 19, and in college rather, right after we graduated. And I always struggled with how to keep her legacy going. I felt that her life was too short for all the things that she had to say, but then I realized that she left behind this beautiful artwork. And, like, she would always speak through her artwork if we gave it a voice. And when she was in the hospital, because she was an inpatient most of the time, when they found out she had cancer, she was already stage 4. So I got to know so many of the patients. And I found that, you know, the volunteer programs, a lot of times that they have, like, somebody coming in to, like, I'll color with you today. It almost was like the volunteer felt like they were getting something great, but then the kids felt like they were in a fishbowl, and everyone's like, oh, feeling bad for them all the time. And they're like, if you have 30 days left in your life, you don't want to talk about how bad you feel. You want to enjoy it, you know? And kids facing illnesses know that better than anyone. And so I was like, let's make art projects that last. Let's do that for the family. Let's do that for the kids and also for the artists, right? Like, there's so many artists in the world who feel like they don't have a voice. Maybe they are not the most famous painter. Maybe they are not on Broadway. Maybe they're not a pop star. But they've got all these talents, and, like, you can make a difference even if you're not famous. So it was about really just being the conduit to connect those two things and creating a system to do that. So that's how Katie's Art Project was founded. We did a number of programs back when I first started it, and then I got really busy with Hamilton.
Right.
And I couldn't do anything. And then this year I was like, okay, I'm coming up for air, and I'm bringing the art project back. And I decided, I was in London with Andy. He and I went to the opening of the Red Shoes, the ballet, Matthew Bourne's ballet. Mm-hmm. And there was a gala going on, and I was like, oh, I could do this. I could serve some wine, put some art together, get a lot of really influential patrons and artists in a room, and raise money to make this program happen. And so that's what I did. I serendipitously, without going on and on, a fan who met me at the stage door of If Then, who said, can I have your email so when I graduate college I can reach out, literally reached out to me the night after I had this idea, and he said, I'm really looking into nonprofit arts admin, and if you know of anyone who's doing anything, I would love a job. And I was like, you're hired. And so I hired him the next day. He became my associate producer, and we forged forward, and that was back in October. And this event is going to be massive. We have 18 international artists and fashion designers, musicians, all these people, and basically the money that we're raising, we've connected with hospitals in Chicago and New York, and I'm pairing them with composers and musicians from Hamilton, and those patients and that person will meet, create a relationship, they'll write a song, we're filming the whole thing, and at the end of it we'll have a downloadable, purchasable song and a music video to go with them based on the art and music that they create together.
Oh, that's so great. It gives not only the kids joy, but also, like you said, artists an outlet to showcase their talents as well. And can people still get tickets, I assume?
Yeah, so tickets are available. If you go to katiesartproject.org, the ticket link, that's the easiest way to get it. The ticket link is right there on the page. It explains Katie's Art Project, and it also explains the program that I paired with in order to make this happen so quickly. The organization is called Music is Medicine, and she's a law student, the woman who runs that program, and she kind of is like, I haven't really had time to make the program happen. I was like, I'll help you if you help me. Mm-hmm. So I was like, so we paired up, and so she's been helping me. It's a lot of red tape to get into hospitals, and so she's been sort of helping me clear that red tape, and I've been helping her provide the artists. And so by August, like, this thing is going to be up and running, and so now we're in talks with, I can't say yet, but a lot of 3 other really big organizations that are going to allow us to also then do this for fine arts
Okay.
Who are also going to allow us to do this for fashion. And so, like, maybe kids aren't interested in writing a song or whatever, but they, so we're, the art project will then really encompass a lot of different medium.
Right, expand it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so amazing. And can people just make a donation too if they can't go to the event on July 23rd?
Yep, the donation link is directly under the ticket link.
Okay, perfect. I really appreciate you talking to me.
Absolutely, and thank you. I beautifully prepared questions. Thank you so much. Yeah.